Today's topic, simple ways to evaluate a rental property and win. That's right, a popular topic, rental property, especially for my people, physicians looking at you. Everybody loves a good real estate story. Everyone wants that passive income, right? Course on it, course on it, course on it. You can do it, you can do it. But what should we be looking for, right? If we just want to keep it simple, what are we looking for? And that is the goal of today's video, which rounds out, I must say, one of our strongest months of content. We had two awesome topics on 401ks. We touched on car insurance. Now we're hitting rental properties. Got all the goods this month. So I'm going to walk through a few popular topics. Some of them are truly rules. Other ones are areas where you can likely improve your odds of winning. So some hard numbers that we like to look at, discuss when we're having this conversation with clients. You know, as I always say, in terms of real estate, owning real estate outright is my personal preference when we have this conversation with clients because there's more control. Sometimes they might lean towards the syndication. Maybe they want to get some REITs in there, some real estate investment trust. But this is one of my favorite ways for high income professionals to get into the passive income game. You'll see me do passive quite a bit because it's not passive. It requires a lot of work. It's not built for everybody. And those are the things you need to understand coming into it. It's not easy to win. But if you get it set up appropriately and you really work on it and spend some time on it, it is a neat area. That's why I love this topic. So let's get into it. Okay, before we hit the fun, as always, I like to quick ask you for a favor. If you have not subscribed, please subscribe to the channel. Give us a thumbs up if you love this content. Click on the bell icon if you want to get a notification every time we release a new video. Drop us some comments, show us some love. First up, the 55% rule, which this is derived from the net operating income, also known as NOI. What is this? Well, this is a good way to evaluate a rental property. Sometimes, here's one of my hidden tricks. When we have a client contact us, like, hey, I'm interested in a rental property, some rental properties. They go, oh yeah? Yeah, what's the NOI? What's the cap rate? They look at me like, Chad, what the heck is that? Gotcha. You didn't do enough research yet. We got to go back to the drawing board. But these are two of my favorite. I'm going to start with two of my favorites. So 55% rule, which is derived from net operating income. What is this? Well, it pretty much says what is rent minus all your operating expenses, not including your mortgage. Those expenses should only be 45%, which leaves 55% behind. This is going to be the number that has to cover the mortgage. When I say mortgage, I'm going to only include principal and interest, which should leave you with 55%, right? Expenses were 45 minus 1, you leave 55% behind. What's included in the 45? Glad you asked. First up, most commonly, insurance, maintenance, property taxes. That's a big one. Repairs. I know you think it's this beautiful story. You're never going to have repairs. No one's ever going to call you at 3 a.m. They will. You will. Get ready. Vacancies, tricky ones, especially in unique real estate markets when things are going well. Fantastic. Maybe you get a good long-term tenant in there, but you will have vacancies. Keep those in mind. Someone needs to come shovel. Someone needs to cut the grass, right? Snow and lawn. And then I put management in there. Most of you are thinking, well, I'm not going to use a property manager. I'm going to do it myself. Your time is also valuable. That is still a cost, and you should include that, especially if you're watching this video as my core group of people, my physicians, any high income earners. Your time is valuable. It is valuable. So even if you're the property manager, that is still an expense. So 55% rule says that those expenses should only be 45% of your total, which leaves 55% behind. Now you're probably thinking, what does this look like in terms of numbers? Well, I'm glad you asked. If your rental income was $2,000 per month, and you take that by 55%, so 0.55, it leaves $1,100 left behind. So you have $1,100 left behind to cover your mortgage and hopefully be cash flow positive. 55% rule, NOI, it's important. Next up, number 2 is what we call cap rates. It's essentially taking your NOI, but it's including the property value. Why do I love cap rates? Cap rates are good because it allows you to compare numerous properties, but it also allows you to compare properties at numerous price points. So that's why I love great rules here. So this is very good to compare. It's one of those ones where, again, it gives you opportunities to look at the comparison tool to look at more than one. So that's why I really enjoy cap rates. To give you some math here. So what does a cap rate look like? So again, it's bringing in NOI, net operating income. If you have a $200,000 property, that's been the theme I've been using today. So you have a $200,000 property. You have an NOI of $12,000. What's your cap rate? Give you a second. Get your calculator. Good. Okay. 6% cap rate there. So the NOI will allow you to essentially take your valuation one step further by actually reviewing that on top of the overall property value. So those two really work hand in hand, but I want to build them into separate categories because they're important. So if you're watching this, you're like, oh, I'm kind of interested in rental properties. Great. You should be really into 55% rule and then cap rates. Those are two of your most important ones. I'd actually say those are probably the first two things to evaluate. So in the title of this video, right, we're talking about evaluations. Those are the main two that we utilize. Again, as a financial advisor, I'm not a real estate agent, I'm not a real estate professional, but those are what we're looking at to review different rental properties for our clients, or asking them to gather those details so that they're digging into the weeds, but then we're also helping them dig into the weeds. So again, number one, 55% rule also includes net operating income, and then number two, cap rates. All right, next three are ways for you to win more easily. So number three, which is the first one of these three now, is price. Location is vital. I always say location, very important, but I would argue that's probably more important on your primary residence, where price is more important on your rental property. They're both important. You can't say one's better than the other. But when you're going to buy a rental property, I cannot emphasize how important the price is. And in this example, remember, you're not living in this house. It's a rental property. You're looking at things that are what we label as fair to maybe even below market. And another little trick here, right? If you think your real estate agent is sending you the diamonds in the rough out there and it's your first time buying, probably not. This is why you want to find a good real estate agent you want to build some rapport with. So when unique opportunities do come up, you're on that short list to get in there, because it's competitive out there. It is. And this is a popular topic, again, especially in the physician community. We love that passive income, but price is so important. And the two things I just jotted down, why is it so important? Well, real estate values have been very high for the past few years, really going back to COVID. As I record this video in, call it mid 2024, prices are still very high. And if you overpay for a property, and let's say we do have some type of pullback, not anything crazy, but some type of pullback, and you would need to sell, we're in trouble here, right? You overpaid and you were in a high market. You're double whammy. Even if you paid a fair price in today's market, we could be in trouble if there's some type of pullback. So that's important. And then overall margins. The higher the price you pay on that home, more than likely you're going to need a mortgage. We're going to get to this stuff next. The lower your margins. We're trying to be cash flow positive. The more you pay for that home, the odds of you being cash flow positive go like this. Ooh. That's why price is so important. So number three, as we start to get into the win category and things that you can control, price, make sure you're doing a good job on that price, negotiate, work with a good agent, work it, and don't be scared to walk away. That's the biggest one here. Don't be scared to walk away. Number three, price. All right, number four on the list, one of my favorite topics when it comes to home buying, really any type of large payment, down payments. I love down payments. I think it's a way to really control the narrative. Few things in here. When you buy a rental property, you're likely looking at higher down payments. If you've only bought your primary residence, we kind of say like 20%, but you can go the whole way down to zero. Physician mortgages, maybe it's a 5%, 10% conventional. You can go lower. Rental properties are usually going to force a higher number in there. And on average, we'll say to go cash flow positive, historically, you probably need to be somewhere between 25 to 30% down payment, right? So that's an important number. Now, important distinction here. The higher rates go, the higher that number goes. So if rates continue to go up, that might have to get closer to a 30 or 40. I can tell you right now, in some of the more recent evaluations we had for clients, this has been an issue where if they're not getting higher down payments, when we're seeing now 6, 7, 8% on a rental property, and that's another one to keep in mind as you are looking at these properties, the actual interest rate is going to be higher on a rental property compared to your primary mortgage. Keep that in mind. So this is important. One, as rates are higher, I argue this number is very important, but this is the definition of your profit margin, right? We kind of go back to our NOI. You have that 55% left over. That number is covering your mortgage. The more you can get on that down payment, the lower your principal and interest payment, the lower your mortgage payment. So this is a good way to control that margin per se, but it's also your best way to win in the long run. Because if you have that down market, and let's just say you had to get out of it, you have an opportunity to at least not have this weird situation where you go to sell and you actually have to pay money back, right? You overpaid, you didn't put a big enough down payment on it, and you're trapped. Now on rental properties, usually because of that higher down payment, it's not as easy to pull that one off. I just hope that we never see a housing crisis that bad again, but that's why you have a little bit more cushion there. And some of those rules that have changed coming out of the housing market crisis have helped there. But this is important. A few ways to lower your down payment. Most of you are probably thinking, yeah, just put more cash down. Yes, that's number one. I kind of say that's my duh. Yes, that one makes a lot of sense. Other ways to do it, I just mentioned the last one. Discount your price, right? Work that price lower. So if your down payment, you only had 100 grand regardless, the lower you can get that price and you still put the 100 grand down, what did you just do? You put a higher percentage down payment. Good for you. I love it. All right. Last one I'd put on here in the form of a down payment, still working on the down payment, sweat equity, right? You get in there, you buy the house, you put in some sweat equity, you didn't bring any contractors, you're a painting expert, you can do drywall like a champ, don't even mess with you when it comes to cabinetry, you can handle all that, well, that's going to increase the value, right? So you're increasing the price there, so now your down payment did just get a little bit better. So sweat equity is another one included in there. But number 4 on the list in your best way of winning in rental real estate, rental properties, down payment. Last but not least, number 5 on the list, minimize transaction costs. cost. These are little buggers. These are the buggers of real estate transactions. I'm going to give you some national data, and then we're just going to round it up. So traditionally, when buying a house, average is around 4% of the purchase price in transaction fees. I'm going to round it up, call it 5, right? Just call it 5. Rather have you on the high end than the low end. When selling a home, national average rate around 8 plus, I should say. It usually says 8 or higher. So let's just call this a 10. Round trip, 5 plus 10, 15. 15% in transaction costs. Remember, when you're talking rental properties here, we're trying to make money. We're trying to win at this game. So what does that mean? Well, if you bought a $500,000 house, total trip, 5% plus 10%, that's $75,000, right? You bought the home and now you're selling it, $75,000. So you need to make up a lot of ground just to cover that. Again, if your profit margin is only $100 per month, $200 per month, you need a lot of months to make that up. And assuming no crazy repairs or anything like that. Transaction costs are a sneaky hidden expense that if you don't control those, they can almost wipe out all your profit margins in the long run. So keep an eye on that. A few ways I listed to minimize these costs: negotiate your fees. Anything in real estate, negotiate. Shop lenders. There's something called a CD, a closing disclosure. One of my favorite documents. We always ask our clients for those. It'll show what their closing costs are. This is also a good way to shop lenders and see what their closing, their CD says compared to the other lender. Good way to shop different lenders out there. And then the other one is I wrote down was kind of do-it-yourself minor repairs. But this can go both ways. So think about when you're buying it and you get to go do your inspection and you get to tell them, hey, we want this fixed, this fixed, this fixed. But in exchange for that, you can also just knock $5,000 off the price and then we'll take care of it. But you're handy, right? Remember I said, don't mess with your cabinetry. Now you go in, you do the painting, you fix this little thing, you fix the ceiling fan, you fix the light bulb, all those little things that you can handle or whatever your skill set says, you just got that back, right? That's a win. On the other side too, you can handle some of that stuff when you go to sell, or you just fancy it up a little bit, maybe get a little higher value. I always say, force that appreciation. You could also help yourself on this one too. So the more handy you are, I'd like to thank YouTube for making me a very bad handyman, but I can do more things now than I could in the past. So little things, check that out. 5 ways to evaluate. I'd say 2 ways to evaluate, 3 ways to win on real estate. A very popular topic, especially in the physician community. I can tell you almost every prospect call we have, every new client we take on, this comes up a lot. Whether it's just them kicking the tires or getting serious about it. It is a fun topic. I enjoy this topic. I do think there's a lot of neat things that come with it. 55% rule, that NOI, the cap rates, 2 fantastic ways to evaluate, and then 3 other ways to win. Work that price down, heavy on the down payments, especially as rates are higher or if they go higher, and then minimize those transaction costs on both the buy side and the sell side. You can handle those. You will be a real estate guru before you know it. As always, thanks for hanging out with me for the last 15 minutes or so. If you have not subscribed, subscribe to the channel, bell icon, you get a notification every time we get a new video. Drop me a comment. If you go into the show notes too, there's a link there. You can also send me a private question on Google Forms for us to address in one of our videos. Your questions, your comments are the reasons why we continue to build these videos and also get neat ideas to build videos like this one. So drop us a note. Again, thanks for hanging out with me, and I will catch you on the next video.